Today's voiceover talent is more than just a pretty voice. Today's voiceover talent has to be a boss, a VO boss. Set yourself up with business owner strategies and success with your host, Ganguzza, along with some of the strongest voices in our industry. Rock your business like a boss, a VO boss.
Welcome, everybody, to the VO Quadcast. Today we have some very special guests with us, and I'm super excited to, of course, welcome in my BFF bestie, Bossy, Gabby Nistico.
Hi, Ann.
Hey, Gabby.
We got two dudes with us today.
We do.
We got some company.
Oh, it's hot.
We have with us today hosts from the podcast Let's Talk Voiceover, Brian Talbot and Randy Ryan.
Thanks. Anna, Gabby, thanks for having us. This is great. It's funny because no one's ever been interested in having us on a show before. So we're a little lost here. We have to beg, plead, borrow, and send a $100 bill to get guests.
Oh, well, I mean, I'll still take the $100.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to just say, first of all, thank you guys for being part of this amazing, I'm going to say, first ever Quadcast. We are all together on IPDTL. This allows us to come together from all different areas. Myself from California, Gabby from North Carolina. And where are you guys from?
I'm from Nashville. Currently, that's destined to change.
And I'm in Austin.
Gabby and I are so honored to get to know you guys. Tell us a little bit about, you've been in the industry for a long time and known each other for a very long time, hence your podcast, I'm assuming. So tell us a little bit about each of you and your reason for being in voiceover.
Well, I started coaching Orson Welles back in the 30s. And, I actually got involved in it from a long, long time ago. High school theater major, college theater, and then, switched to broadcasting because I really wanted to get paid. How stupid was that? Right? No, I'm not gonna work in theater. I'm gonna get paid by working in radio. Really?
There's no pay in radio.
There's no pay. So, but I had the good fortune of being out in L.A. In the mid late 80s, and ran into this funny little man called Mark Grau. And Mark is not only voiceover royalty, and he actually grew up in Hollywood. I worked at one of his, I think it was actually his first Mark Grau recording studio in Hollywood. And just absolutely fell in love with it. Went from there, started doing voices, goofy voices, because when you hang around with Mark Grau long enough, you just start doing goofy voices. And did that stuff, and then moved all around the country, moved to New York, and then moved back to Indianapolis at one point for family reasons, and met this goofball, long hair musician freak named Randy, and he's been trying to shake me ever since, and I keep sticking by. We've been friends for almost 25 years now.
I keep moving, and you keep finding me.
And I keep following. I actually moved back out to L.A. back in the early 2000s, and Randy moved to Austin. So what did I do? I left L.A. and I went to Austin just to,
Anne kept stalking me. She wouldn't leave me alone. And then she was like, please do this podcast. And I'm like, damn it, woman, where do you keep coming from? Go away. And then
I kept
I
popping
just agreed finally. It's just easier.
Thank God for Google.
Well, I hit this a lot differently than Brian did because I've been asked to be a voice actor a lot, and I've always steadfastly refused to because, well, I believe that you should be able to know how to act, and that's never been part of my background. But, well, yeah, just saying, I think it's kind of an essential element that a lot of people skip. I'm a musician. I got into voiceover really as cash flow because when I started this company that is now called Hamster Ball, we were doing advertising, and we were doing advertising music, and the market was heavily saturated with people that were already there. So I started doing voiceover, outsourcing everything, going, well, it runs some cash through the till, and if people start using us for VO, then maybe they'll start using us for music. And so along the way, I started realizing that I'm listening to other directors and going, well, I think I can do that, and why am I paying them? And actually, Brian was the one who really encouraged me. It's like, dude, you can do this. So that's essentially over a long period of time what I started doing, and that we now do way more VO casting and directing than we do music. We still do some music, but it's really kind of become a VO thing. So I kind of came at it from a very different spot from where you guys did.
And I like to encourage people by going, oh yeah, you can do this. You can do this, sure, no problem.
I think it was working with Xzibit where he's like, dude, you can take the next one. I think that was it.
Well, I have to ask because it was part of your bios. Please tell us about the Pimp My Ride Xzibit story. So yeah, please enlighten us.
I'm out in LA at this point, right? And Randy and I had worked together directing all the poker pros for World Series of Poker. So we had a good time, and we spent Easter weekend in Las Vegas trying to get 30 poker pros to say something. Because, if you ever watch the poker pros, they wear the dark glasses.
Yep.
They don't say anything. They just kind of sit there and are like, well, here's your line. I don't say anything. Okay, great. This is a video game. Can we pretend? No, I don't pretend. Oh, okay, fine.
But
all right.
But you did get Jennifer Tilly to say, I want you all in.
Well, okay. Really, we had to go there. We had to bring that up.
Jennifer Tilly said worse, though.
Normally not in a video game, so.
True.
Right.
No. I don't know that line actually made it in the game.
So we had done that and got some pretty good accolades for being able to help Activision out with that one. And so they started doing a bunch of IP properties. And we did a bunch of really fun ones. We did Dancing with the Stars and flew out to Orange County, New York, and did the American Chopper guys.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, they're very much like they are on camera. That's not really an act. A game comes along, and it's Pimp My Ride based on the MTV show. Randy calls me up. He goes, hey, so Pimp My Ride? I'm like, yeah, that's great. We can tag team on this one. He goes, well, now why don't you do that one?
I had already had conversations with the producer who was telling me all these things that were going awry. And my thought was, my personality probably is not going to be real well suited to somebody sitting in a studio trying to direct over my shoulder and talent in the booth that actually doesn't really want to be there. I'll call my good friend Brian, who's got this great personality and is really good with people, and have him do the whole thing. I kind of neglected to tell him. I kind of neglected to tell him some of the details.
It'll be fun. I can't wait. First day, we ended up taking 15-minute breaks every hour. And then, by day 3, he didn't even bother to leave the studio to do his extracurricular activities. It was good. It was good. It was a good game. So first day, everything was great. And by the third day, okay, editing room floor. Good.
Wow.
I was getting daily calls from Brian that were just vents. I'd see it and it's like, I know this is not going to be a fun 20 minutes. Hi, Brian. How did it go today? Okay, I'll leave the room for a bit. And,
There was that one time I called and he accidentally picked up the phone. And I said, Randy. And he went, this is Randy's voicemail. Please leave a message. I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to get through that one. It's been incredibly cool. I have been incredibly blessed to be able to work in this industry for literally over 30 years. I've been around and worked with some of the very best voice talents there are out there in some of the best studios, amazing engineers, incredible casting people, agents. It is truly a dream come true after over 30 years of doing this. Every time I get done with a job, I still get that tingly feeling like I was stealing a cookie out of the jar and Mom was watching me and she didn't say anything. She just let me do it with a smile on her face. I want to help other people understand what it is and what it could be and what it should be. Not only a great way to make a living, but also just kind of a privilege to be able to do this.
I think that people entering into this industry, it's a whole lot different today. I would love to hear your take on how it's changed and evolved over the years.
When I was a young kid starting out in the business, we had... No, it's it's interesting because there's this thing called the Pareto principle, and it's also better known as the 80-20 rule. And one of the parts of that says that 80% of the work goes into 20% of the people or 20% of the effort, right? So when I started out, first of all, everything was local. So if you wanted to do voiceover, you actually went to a studio in your local area, and then you did it. And you even went into the studios to audition. And that was great. And so the 80-20 rule did apply, but in kind of a little bit more interesting way, especially where I was. I was in Indianapolis at the time when my voice career really started taking off. And instead of 20% of the voice actors getting 80% of the work, there were literally 20 people who got 80% of all the work in that market. And it was about 60-40 split, guys, men to women. And I was fortunate enough to be in, that magic 12 people who actually got to book a lot. It was really awesome. I was very fortunate, But the thing is I was working in Indianapolis. So if you wanted to work in Cincinnati, where Procter and Gamble was, for instance, you literally had to make the drive, go to Cincinnati, find Cincinnati agents, start talking to Cincinnati production houses, and try and find Cincinnati agencies and companies to work with and introduce yourself to. Same thing with Chicago. And obviously all that's changed dramatically with the internet. It does allow you to live anywhere. The cost of technology has come down so dramatically that, we're doing this and 25 years ago, when I was actually still doing some engineering work, ISDN was brand new and you couldn't afford the phone lines. We're able to do this, and I think this is pretty amazing. The upside is that the technology allows you to do this from anywhere. That also is the two-edged sword, because then all of a sudden everyone thinks that they can be a voiceover artist or a voice actor. It dilutes the waters pretty dramatically. When I used to audition, I used to book probably about 15, 20 to 20% of everything I auditioned for. But it is because you had local relationships, you had personal relationships, you had the ability to really work with people, and they wouldn't submit you for everything. Everything was not a cattle call, right? They would submit you for what you were right for. And so when you'd book 1 out of every 5 auditions you hit. And that was awesome because it was effective for everybody involved. Nowadays, literally, I have agents in different parts of the country. Sometimes I'll get the same audition from different agents, but every agent is expected to submit anywhere between 30 and 50 auditions per every script that comes through, per every request. And then people go and they talk with somewhere between 10 and 20 agents. So you're literally competing against 1,000 auditions every time you submit. I've been on the casting side with Randy. You get ear fatigue after about 20 or 30 of them, and the likelihood of someone getting through more than 50 or 60 auditions, it's just a very high probability that you'll never even get listened to for all the work and effort you put in.
The other side of that is that what it requires, that I've seen, and I know you've seen because we've talked about this, is that it then becomes a speed game. If you're going to even have a prayer, you have to be one of the first 50 people because, as you said, everybody stops listening.
Yeah. It's shifted a lot, so it does become really a big numbers game, right? And then on the flip side of that, the other thing that's starting to happen that's really wearing everybody down is rate degradation. Because everybody wants to do it, and because you can get in with a $100 USB microphone and your laptop, right? All of a sudden, there's a guy who is a video producer, is a friend of mine from the last 20, 25 years. And he came at me a couple of weeks ago and said, "Hey, I've got this new thing for an online explainer video, and we've got $100. You want it?" I'm like, "No, I don't know. That's ridiculous. Come on, And I walked away from it, and he's like, "All right, fine. It's a new company, and they're going to be doing a lot more." I'm like, "Don't play that game. Don't play that game. Everybody has a worth and a value, right? And the more we're willing to buckle under and take the discounted rates and take the lowball rates, all we're doing is training those who are our clients or prospective clients that they can lowball and they really can drive us down into the depths of the voice bunnies and the Fivers and all that stuff. And I'd rather not do this than play that game.
Right, I completely agree with that, and I think that because I come at it from a slightly different perspective because I'm not an actor. I was a road musician for 15 years. Functionally, since I've been an adult, in one form or another, I have been what amounts to a freelancer.
Easy there, mister. You're no adult and you know it.
Well, I can go to the store and buy beer, so I figure that's all I need. I got my adult
make you
card.
An adult. So can my youngest son, and trust me, he is no adult.
Yeah, well, that's Joe. I'm better than Joe, man. Anyway, okay, I'm not. So I've had to sell, essentially sell my entire life. And when you do that, you learn a lot of things. And you also watch other people who have never learned these things. Creatives are always have problems with selling themselves. It's just the ones that can do both are the ones that do well. But the dirty little secret is that the people who can sell and maybe don't have the talent will do better than the people who have enormous talent but don't know how to sell.
Very true.
That's just the way it works. And so part of what is driving the market down is because everybody does have access. It's that early salesperson mentality that what do you have to negotiate with? Price. No, you have so many other things to negotiate with. If you lead with price, should be the last thing you negotiate with. And this is so hard for people to understand because everybody wants to even monetize themselves and devalue themselves because they don't have the confidence to say, well, no, what I bring to the table are these other things. And I don't know how we teach that. I'm going to contradict myself a little bit here. It used to be that you would get an agent, and the agent would do the selling. But the other thing that you guys all know is that, well, you still have to sell. Your agent is not the golden goose. But it used to be at least a little bit more of a control than it is now, because the agent would at least be there in most cases say, no, you are not taking that job for this price. That's all bets are off now. And the creatives haven't gotten any better at selling. They're just now loose on their own. And I don't think that most of them see how much they are driving the market down.
We now have an entire generation that doesn't know life without the internet, and the internet's always been free. So it really has changed the perception of what has value and what doesn't. And so those people are now in hiring positions across companies and agencies and places like that.
Absolutely.
And I think that is really affecting. They're like, well, I can get someone to do this on Fiverr. And I'm like, well, go ahead, because that's the quality you're going to get. But they're like, yeah, well, then too bad. And so the people who are actually the buyers are not trained to understand value, except when it comes to a celebrity name. Then they're willing to pay anything there is, right? Because it's a celebrity name, which is crazy. Yeah, if I get another, hey, can you sound like Sam Elliott? Well, sure.
They don't have a concept. They just don't have a concept of the value of the industry. And I think you bring up such a great point. I love how you even said that I would rather not do it at all. Than do it for $100. Yeah. And so I think that's just such a strong testament, and bravo to both of you for bringing that up. And I think it's going to be of such value to our listeners. Thank you for that.
Well, now, I just to be fair, $125, we can talk.
Hey,
a case
Ann.
of Schlitz Light.
Yes, Gabby.
Oh, gosh.
I'm a little freaked out. I feel like we found our male doppelgangers.
I think so, too.
Kind of weird.
I know.
I'm just sort of letting them talk because I'm like, wow, okay, yeah, I would have said that
It's all good
too.
stuff.
Yeah,
Bravo,
all right.
bravo. Yeah, I'm back here going, bravo, yes.
Yes.
We're gonna have to get together at one of those VO conferences. And
Heck yeah.
Do a panel of 4.
The live quadcast.
Oh, I love it.
There you go. There
I
you go.
love it.
Of course, whoever puts on the conferences won't want us to do that, so we'll just set up a little table in the hallway and do our own thing.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, we'll just be out in the lobby. That's totally fine, right?
Ann and I
4
haven't been at a
homeless
conference
people
yet
that,
where we haven't, stolen tables and rearranged
Exactly.
furniture and just
Exactly.
yeah, we do that.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, Randy and I do that too, except we bring them back to our houses and then we furnish our homes that way. So
It seems to work.
Good
you know.
shway. It's good shway. I like it.
You can't take that as carry-on. You do have to check it, and that's $25.
you do have to
Sometimes
check
it's a
the
deal
couch.
breaker.
Yes.
Yeah, you do.
Hey, if they're going to charge me $100, I'm going to get my $100 worth. You move this.
There you go. There you go. Exactly.
No, it's it is. It's kind of the two-edged sword. It's everything in life changes, and that's clear, and it should, and it needs to. Everything needs to evolve, but what we can't do is we can't let technology drive our decision making. right? We have to be in control, especially as creatives. And it's not just voiceover people. It's everybody that does creative stuff. Actors go through it all the time. Musicians go through it all the time. Here in Nashville, there's a big music festival coming up. And all the local bars are charging artists to play during that music festival.
Whoa.
So it's not bad enough that they would play for free or play for tips. No, they're charging them hundreds of dollars to play, and it's the same line that you're hearing with voiceover. Well, it's great exposure for you.
Yeah.
I can't pay my mortgage on exposure. And then Randy comes with a more intelligent comment that says,
Oot greet.
maybe not so much more intelligence. We'll just, yeah. You knew where we were going with all this,
That
though,
was
right?
so deep.
Yeah.
I'm nothing if not profound. But you're preying on people who are desperate to be famous in some sort of way. And, the whole exposure thing, if there's another thing that I could ever get across to, my two tribes, to musicians more so than voice actors, but to voice actors too, there is no such thing. There is networking. There is marketing. Nobody... Okay, it's not nobody. 1 in a million times, which people glom onto, somebody in power hears something, a band, a singer, a guitar player, a voice actor, and they go, I want that person. The problem is that 999,999 other times it doesn't happen. You have a better chance of winning the lottery than making a career out of exposure. So just stop doing it.
Amen.
Don't take those jobs, ever.
Sorry, hold on. I'm lost in the pool of Randy's deep thought right now.
And I'm lost
Great.
in the brown liquor. I'm sorry.
I'm just lost.
Perfect.
You guys, this has just been amazing. I want to do like 5 podcasts with you because
Right.
Okay.
Can we make the next one about
let's do
chickens?
5. Let's do 5. We'll talk chickens next.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be good. Let's talk chickens. We're totally experts on them.
Thank you guys so much for taking the time to talk with us today. It's just been amazing, and as I mentioned, I would love to have more podcasts with you guys and your wisdom, and it's really been valuable. So thanks so much for joining us. And
Well, thank you so much for
yeah.
having us on. Like I said, nobody really cares, so we've never been asked.
Brian, your script that you wrote worked. We fooled them.
We fooled them.
Yes.
Hey guys, how can our listeners find your podcast?
Oh, that's easy. So it's Let's Talk Voiceover, and it's at letstalkvoiceover.com. I can be found at briantalbot.com if you want to call me up and stalk me, because I'm a little lonely. And Randy is at hamsterballstudios.com. And remember, there ain't no P.
Ain't no P in hamster.
That's awesome. I'd like to give a huge shout out to our good friend and sponsor, IPDTL, for this amazing first time ever pioneering breakthrough podcast, quadcast, for their amazing support. You can find out more at ipdtl.com.
And for all things Boss, guys, be sure to check out our website, voboss.com, and of course all the social media stuff, and there's iTunes and Stitcher. Thank you so much for joining us this week, and we'll see you soon.
See you next week.
Bye. Bye.
Join us next week for another edition of VO Boss with your hosts, Ann Ganguzza and Gabby Nisterko. All rights reserved. Ann Ganguzza voice talent in association with 3 Moon Media. Redistribution with permission. Coast-to-coast connectivity via IPDTL.